Special guest in conversation. I can't tell you how excited I am that this lady is back in the studio again after an absence of a long time. When people say to me in the morning, oh, who are you talking to today? And you tell them, you get, oh, that's nice. This lady gets, you're not serious. She's coming in. I promise you.
Steve.
She's a style icon. She's everybody's favourite actress. I've loved her in everything she's ever done. I've loved the books. I've loved the Siberian trip. I've loved the Aurora Borealis. There is nothing I do not like about this woman. She's slim. She looks fantastic. Joanna Lumley, you're gorgeous.
We've got cameras on in here now, so people can check out. Yes, exactly. Just to help them along.
You seriously, the characters that you've played over the years, and I've watched you from the Sapphire and Steel days, and I've got the box sets, and I've got everything. So I'm almost a stalking fan, and I've been fascinated by your career. I love your voice. Your voice just drives me round the bend.
But you've got a radio voice as well, haven't you?
No, but yours is sexy. Mine isn't sexy. Mine's just an imparting information voice.
No,
yours is very sexy. It is. You watch yourself back on the Siberian programme, and it was just sexiness.
Oh,
seriously.
Very, very funny and very charming. It was an extraordinary journey, I tell you. It really was. I mean, 6,500 miles or whatever it was. And those enormous countries. I think it's quite hard, even if you look at... I'm obsessed with atlases and maps anyway. So I had studied it pretty hard. And also I'd lived as a child in Hong Kong. So I had a little bit of an idea. But you can't really get the scale of travelling across China, across the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, travelling across Siberia and the centre of Russia with its 11 time zones. I mean, the scale of it is out of this world, and I commend anybody, particularly to go to Mongolia. It sounds like the back beyond Ulaanbaatar, and you go, oh my God, but it's a fabulous place.
When did you live in Hong Kong?
When I was a little girl. My father was with the Gurkhas, and he was posted out there, and we were there for about 2 years. So I was there.
Do you remember the year?
We left in 49 or 50, I think. Why?
We've
got a special face.
No,
you weren't.
My dad was stationed in Hong Kong for 2 years.
Yeah.
When I can't remember, about 1962, we were out there.
Wow.
I loved it.
Yes. Well, you probably were the right age to love it.
I think I was about... I can't remember if I was 8 or 9.
Right.
Something like that.
Fabulous
so I remember
age.
the fish markets at Wan Chai.
Yes.
The Peak Railway, the Star Ferry that went across to nowhere.
Well, no, except the Peak.
The Peak.
Up and down the Peak.
Yes.
Just extraordinary.
Tiger Balm Gardens.
And I remember the road to the New Territories, which when I was there stopped because you just ran out.
There was nothing.
Nothing else went on.
You go there now, it's just
a buzz. It's
all built up.
The world
in our day,
has
it was
changed.
nothing.
It was nothing. Isn't it interesting? I love the way you say our day. He quite clearly was about 40 years later than me, but anyway.
The funny thing is that I can't remember any of the food. I remember the smells of the place, because I think there are certain places you go to that you remember because of the smells. We had a stone sink.
Oh, yeah.
I used to stick my head underneath the sink to smell the stone. I was an odd child.
You were quite a strange child. The sound of mahjong tablets being shuffled
the
and
noise.
things like that. The noise and the din and the clatter. The fireworks. The storms, the monsoon rain drumming down.
We had a typhoon.
My gosh, that came whipping in.
And the women who would carry lumps of rock on their shoulders.
With a pole over their shoulders and a basket on each side. And you can't think, carrying what would be virtually a man in each basket, the weight of that.
Yes, all the squatters' huts on the hillside, which when they had really bad rains over there, they all fell down. The funeral cars that had the big photograph of the person who died in front. I remember it all.
And the lucky colour of red and little red envelopes to give money in.
Yes. And beautiful paper kites.
And dragons.
My father used to take us to the Royal Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And we met Father Christmas down there. Well, he wasn't. He was St. Nicholas. And he came in on a launch and gave presents out to the boys. And then we had the dragon boat races. And it was it was in those days that your parents must have been fairly well heeled then, mustn't they? So did you?
No, they were just army people.
Oh, just ordinary.
Ordinary army. Yes, no, just ordinary army people. We were in army barracks, as it were.
Oh right. Did you have a house away from that or not?
No. It was on. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the road now. I should remember, but anyway, it was just a block of flats which were put for sort of. We were it was sort of officers, so it was just a flat. That's all.
We lived at number 8 Tun Shan Terrace.
Did you?
A 2-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
That's what I remember very well. My father was ADC to the governor of Hong Kong.
Was he?
So he was based at Government House, and we used to go to Repulse Bay. And
gosh.
I was talking to somebody earlier on about things you remember from your childhood, because when I watch you doing your television programmes, you're like a childlike discovery of things. It's like you're rediscovering things all over again. You know, when you did China, when you did Russia, I could see the wonderment in your face that, my God, here it all is.
But you know, Steve, I didn't think we actually ever changed much. I really do think that our characters are pretty much formed by the time we're 7. I really do believe that. And I can remember being quite young, much younger than that. I can remember being 3 in Hong Kong and realising that I couldn't speak very fluently because I hadn't got enough words. And I thought one day I'll be speaking properly and these grown-ups won't look down at me and smile in that rather patronising way. I didn't know the word patronising. But I knew then that I was who I was, but just hadn't got the apps, as it were. Yeah. I hadn't got the speaking app yet.
And then she did get the speaking app.
And then she couldn't be stopped, yes,
she
sadly.
Couldn't stop her at all. But you were you burst onto the London scene, didn't you? I've looked at the early modelling pictures. I love looking at them because I remember London in those days.
Yes.
I was fascinated by the King's Road, the Chelsea drugstore, Carnaby Street, the clothes.
It was the real swinging London.
It really was swinging.
Yeah, and I sort of started modelling in about 1964 till about 1967, so it wasn't really a very long time, but it was just absolutely, the Beatles were riding high, the Stones, and all those, the Kinks and the Hollies and all those people like that, people like Mary Quant and Jean Muir and Tuffin and Phil Bieber, and so all the fashion was hugely hot. There were scandals aplenty. Christine Keeler had just gone, and I'm sure there were plenty more to come.
Yes.
But the great thing is that there was a slightly hippie-ish feeling. You could do it yourself. We all shared rooms. I mean, I'm so sad that the world has changed and that young ones are finding it hard to buy houses. I didn't buy a house till I was 40.
Wow.
No, I couldn't afford it.
No.
But people are very affronted now and they can't get onto the housing ladder in their 20s. And you go, you don't, just rent. And also, if you can't afford to rent a proper place, share.
Yes.
We all shared. We shared 3 girls shared a bedroom when I was young.
It's like a TV programme, isn't it?
It is, Take 3 Girls, whatever it is, when you think about it. But we couldn't afford a fridge. I mean, this is not a sad story. It's just we couldn't afford a fridge, so we put milk bottles on the windowsill.
That's right, yes.
You know, it's not a sad or humble thing. I'm just saying that you might have to struggle a bit. And even as an actress, even when I'd done The Avengers, I couldn't get my bank balance back into the black again. I was so poor because it wasn't very well paid. It was famous, but it wasn't paid, you know.
Yes.
And so it's just interesting because I think that sometimes there's a slight sense of entitlement. I ought to be richer than this. And you go, no, babe, the world is tough and life is a struggle. It will be.
Yes.
So be brave.
I think, though, the trouble is nowadays people are so obsessed with celebrity and they see people spending lots of money and going out and being photographed. You tend to forget that even in the early days, when they sent out people like Marilyn Monroe, she had to go to the studio to have makeup and hair done and put the clothes on. They took her off to the event, then they brought her back, took it all off her, and she went home on the bus or whatever.
I know.
It was, it's a tough life.
It's a tough life. You forget that Michael Caine and Terence Stamp shared a flat. I don't know why that sounds so divine, but it's pretty good.
Why did that just pop into your mind?
I don't know. But it's the idea that ever has been a superstar since birth.
Yes.
Not so, baby puppy.
No,
you know?
And there was no money. We didn't have any money. We didn't, because we were living in a flat. 3 girls and me. They were at Arts Educational, but they were go-go dancing at the Chelsea drugstore to make ends meet.
Of course.
They were doing it for like £6 a time.
Yep.
And you think, but we didn't think about money. I didn't sort of open my wallet and go, I've got no money. We just accepted either we had some money.
That came so much later, didn't it? Didn't it come later, that money thing? I don't know how it's obsessed people now.
I think, I don't know when it changed, when people became obsessed by money, because I have always said to people that some of the happiest times I've ever had are when I haven't had very much money. Now I've got some money because I work for a living, then there's nothing that I can't really afford. I can't go buy a castle, obviously, but if I want to go out for dinner every night, I can do it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing for me to look forward to.
No, I know.
In the early days, you had something to look forward to.
I know. And wine was so expensive that I can remember we used to club together and buy 1 bottle of wine a week.
Yes.
And that was a big deal.
Yes. And I bet it was horrid wine.
Oh, it was ghastly. It was very rough and came from France. But I think, and clothes, we patched them when they went wrong or turned up the hems if it tried to look trendier or something. I remember we had one dress that fitted all three of us, and so you'd taken turns to wear it. I mean, it was very funny. It doesn't matter at all.
My mother used to go to school. She was the youngest of about 4 girls, with newspaper in her shoes because they weren't her shoes.
Yes,
they were the older sister's
and they were
shoes.
Too big.
They were too big. So they put newspaper in there to keep them going.
I think we've just got a bit too kind of thingy. We've got too obsessed. We've always taken stuff, always got stuff out of second-hand shops and picked stuff out of skips and painted it. And I still do it now because I prefer doing it.
Do you?
Nothing would make me go to a grand place and order grand things.
But the trouble is, we secretly want you to be grand. We secretly want you because you have this...
I must tell you something quite funny. I had a Ferrari. I bought it. I bought it because I was at a charity and nobody was bidding for it. And I thought, this is pitiful. I'd better buy it. So I quickly bought it. And of course, it's a useless London car.
Yes.
But the boys all round me in Stockwell, all the lads on the estates and things, thought I was the bee's knees. When I sold it and got my smart car, they nearly had a heart attack. They went, "What's happened to you? Have you lost your mind?" And I said, "No, this is a much better car for London." They thought I was ill. They wanted me to have a Ferrari.
You can just see Joanna Lumley in Ferrari. Can you not, ladies and gentlemen? Listen, a very quick break.
Yeah.
We're then going to be talking about this Cadogan Hall concert, which is coming up in October. So details of that after this. Special guest in conversation. Honestly, I can't tell you. Somebody said to me, "Do you get nervous interviewing people?"
No, and you don't. Do stop.
No,
that.
I
stop
don't.
That
no,
now.
I don't.
No,
No,
don't.
but it is lovely.
And we've actually known each other for so long that we couldn't be nervous if we tried.
We couldn't.
No.
But you do have this ability to make people feel really nice. People smile when they see you, which I think it's a great compliment to you.
I think it's
because
lovely.
you talk to a lot of people in the business, and we've just lost Cilla Black, who spent a lot of time doing what they called light end, but she so desperately wanted to be known just as a singer. That's what she is. Whereas you, I see as an actress. Is that how you see yourself? Do you think you're just an actress, or do you see yourself now as a presenter?
It's sort of, only we don't have to put it anymore. It's what it says in my passport. Only we don't put things like that in your passport anymore. But it's how I describe myself.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that people also add on sometimes and campaigner because of the wonderful Gurkhas.
Yeah.
But and also because there are lots of other things which I do believe strongly in and would like to lend my voice to. Usually things, Steve, which is just kind of about being kinder, really. Kinder to animals, kinder to people in faraway places and things like that.
It's funny that, as we were saying before about the money, we tend to, unless it's pushed into us on the television or on the radio, we tend to close our eyes to what's happening elsewhere in the world, whereas we can sit here now, we've got lighting and heating and it's warm, but there are people dying in the world now because they don't have water, because they don't have food, they don't have anything at all. They've got nothing. Whatever we've got, it's 1,000,000 times more than they've got.
Yeah.
And when you say that you're a campaigner, I don't see you as a campaigner. I see you as somebody who makes things available to us. You're taking something that you've seen. Nobody knew really about the Gurkhas till you started talking. We knew what they were because I come from a forces family.
Sure.
But you ask lots of people, they don't know what it is. You start talking about it and immediately you're their voice. You're the person that we look to. You're the person that we look up to because we trust you. If we didn't trust you,
well,
then
I love
none of
you
these
for
things
saying
would be
that.
possible.
But it's also a huge privilege because to know these things, to have visited African countries where people are just desperately starving, to go to Bangladesh and see the poverty, and also always twinned with the extraordinary hospitality and generosity of very, very poor people. To know these things and to see how the tiniest amount can literally change lives. How a little humble kindergarten or a school of some kind, or just a little bit of start-up help for a woman who wants to start up her own business. A little bit of seed money to start things off. When you see you can literally change people's lives with what we would spend on a couple of drinks.
Yes. Yes, that's the worst thing.
So once you know about this, you can't unknow it.
Yeah.
So then I become messianic about it and go, please help, please, because it would make such a difference.
And it does make a difference. And I think, really, in our heart of hearts, we are actually quite generous as a nation.
We're hugely generous.
We're hugely generous. Compared to sort of other countries, I think we do see other people's plight and we do help. We do want to help. I think because it makes us feel better, we do sometimes take what we've got for granted. I sometimes don't think, I sort of think, maybe I should give some money to this person or that group or whoever it is. So I try and do my little bit in my way. Perhaps that alleviates my inner, demons.
No, but you're a kind man and you're aware of these things. I think that there's, in our hearts, no matter how what particular political party says you can or can't keep this money, or you should or shouldn't do this. In our hearts, we do know that the unfairness or the injustice of life in general. There are some haves and some have-nots. Some people are born completely sound of limb and body, healthy and able to do things. Some people aren't born like that and are always going to be put on the second rung, the second floor, or they come from a difficult country where they went to. So we know already the playing field is never even. So what you can do all your life is to try to even it out a bit, that's all. And it's good fun, it's lovely.
It is good fun.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's such a nice feeling when you do something.
You know it's going to work and you go, thank goodness. And then it's like a little warm secret at the end of the day. You go, that she's going to get that check tomorrow.
Yes. That's what I like. This concert at the Cadogan Hall concert, at the concert that you're hosting down there, this is Gurkha 200, and the concert is in aid of Gurkha Welfare Trust. I'm assuming it's sold out already.
Well, I wish it had, but I think that you can still rush and get tickets for it now. The thing about the Gurkha Welfare Trust is this looks after the old Gurkhas who don't get a pension because for some reason they fought for our country during the war, but then they were just not included in the list. So the Gurkha Welfare Trust looks after them. But after the catastrophic Nepal earthquakes earlier this year, we realised that we had all our administration points for the Gurkha Welfare Trust set out across the country anyway. So we were in the prime position for being able to get aid to some of those outlying villages, which are literally days' walk away because there are no roads or paths. And so we were perfectly placed to help those old Gurkha veterans, of course, but their communities, the families and the communities around them, whose lives have been shattered. The whole landscape has changed. Not only have their houses fallen down, but the terraced fields where they grew their crops washed away. Roads or paths, no roads anyway, washed away. Animals killed. Standpipes, if there were any, for fresh water, fractured. So this is literally rebuilding a country from scratch. And so this concert is in aid, the money to go to the Gurkha Welfare Trust for the work that they're doing for the Nepal earthquake.
And what are you going to be doing there?
I'm hosting it and grinning from ear to ear because it's got my favourites. It's got Beethoven, two bits of Beethoven, a Coriolan and the beautiful violin concerto played by the beautiful Alexandra Soum. I should just say this. It's played, the orchestra is called L'Orchestre du Monde, which is a sort of scratch band from literally the finest players. I mean, I can only say this because I'm married to a musician who talks in this way about the finest musicians in the world, but selected from orchestras all around the world who, for this extraordinary man, Janusz Piotrowicz, every year he does a couple of concerts at the Cadogan Hall, which he funds these extraordinary musicians to come from everywhere so that they're playing all together under his baton. And then he came to me and said, I'm doing this particular concert, October the 20th, name the charity you would like to benefit from it. I can't think it's like being given an enormous Christmas present early. Yes. So that's what this is.
And the money will help in so many ways.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean,
it really does. Every penny.
They need the money now.
Exactly, they need the money now, and they need it more than ever because I think the eyes of the world and the nature of mankind is that our eyes turn on to further. The world goes round and we forget things. Another tragedy happens, something exciting happens. Government sits again, and suddenly the Nepal earthquakes slide into the dim memory. Not for that country.
No.
It's as bright as day, in that country which for 200 years has given us their sons to fight for us.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could give them back something to help their lives?
I just feel that we should have a never-ending pot of money that we sit there with and we go, how much do you need? Here it is.
Here it is.
Take it now.
I know.
But we have to do something for it. We have to make people work for it, and you have to go to the concert, and by giving the ticket, you get the concert, and the money goes to a fantastic cause. As I say, they need it now. They don't really need it later. They could do with money every single day.
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of money they need.
That's right.
So it's an ongoing thing for you, isn't it?
It's an ongoing thing, and it's an honour, actually. It's a pleasure. If you get your mind into it, this idea that maybe you could do too much charity, and you think, well, not if it's your life. It's like breathing. You can't breathe too often.
Gosh, I'm going to have to take that one in, actually. I'm not
I
sure
just
about
went a little deep there, actually, Steve.
Actually, talking of going a little deep, somebody tells me that in October you're filming the Ab Fab movie.
We are. Oh my gosh, it's going to be such fun. Look, we've got the whole team. We've got the same old team.
Really?
Yeah. The person who looks younger than all of us is June Whitfield. who's
Isn't
going to be
she-
90 this year. She's
I cannot believe
unbelievable.
she's 90.
She's spectacular. She looks so beautiful and so divine. And, of course, Jane Horrocks, Julia Sawalha.
She lives down the road
Saunders.
from me. I try and avoid talking to her. It's so embarrassing, surrounded by famous people. So have you already seen the script?
We've seen the script, which is being tweaked slightly, but
Right.
it's the same. It's the same gang. It's a fantastically funny and outrageous story, fab at its best. We'll be filming. I think the first 2 weeks will be down in the south of France, so no struggle there.
Oh,
and then coming back
hardship.
and shooting on location around London. So you might even see us if you're a Londoner.
Oh, lovely.
You might see us around.
And do we get Patsy at her very best?
Patsy's going to be there, absolutely full tilt. I can't wait. It's funny because when we don't, as it were, do them, they never quite go away. It's as if she's always around. And of course, people send me photographs to sign, and there she is again. But just at the back of your hair, you can feel the cigarette between the fingers and the glass at the lips, and the hair goes up, and suddenly the voice goes down slightly, and then it's Patsy just there, and she comes back again.
She is a fantastic character.
I adore her.
Yes, I'm not at all surprised because everybody adores her. That's the thing. It's I think Ab Fab was the first program I watched where I loved all of the characters.
Yeah.
There was nobody I didn't like. I loved every single person in it. I thought it was just
That's
wonderful.
Jennifer's brilliance, because not only in the writing, but also the casting.
Yes.
Because we all know that once the person's got hold of it, it's then theirs. You can't think of anybody for Safi except Julia. And of course, Julia in real life is a raver. Sorry, darling, for saying that, Julia.
Sorry to say
but
that.
the truth is, she is. She looks unbelievable.
Yes.
She's fabulous.
Yes.
Looks smoking hot. And little Safi with her scrubbed face and her little owly glasses. But you can't imagine anybody better. Balmy Horrocks, the most spectacularly versatile and brilliant actress.
Again,
Yeah,
what
and
can we
Miss
say about
Saunders.
her?
And Miss Saunders.
I must just have to mention
Yeah.
that a friend of mine is a black taxi driver in London called Michael Dennis,
Yeah.
and he writes poetry.
Yeah.
And he said he had you in the back of the cab once.
Yes.
Well, I say he had you in the back of the cab.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
you were sitting in the back. I do beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Made it sound a little bit cheap and vulgar. But and he said he was reading you some of his poetry. He said, so will you just say to Joanna that he thought you were absolutely fabulous.
I'm so touched.
And gorgeous. And I cannot disappoint any of you. She is absolutely fabulous and gorgeous. Listen, good luck with the concert, if only because I think it raises money, and there are so many demands on people's time and the money in their pocket. But this is such a good cause. So go along to the Cadogan Hall. Joanna will be there, giving of her best, and at some point she might even slip it. No, she won't.
Well, just for goodness sake.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This has been a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Steve.
I know.
Can you believe it?
They said there's 130 cuts.
There are 28 CDs.
And 28 CDs.
Yes.
It covers every single hit that I've ever had.
Yes.
Which is pretty massive.
It's enormous.